What's up, guys? MC Stu here, and today we're going to talk about whether or not Star Citizen is worth checking out going into 2023. So I'm going to give you my thoughts on the game. I've been playing since 2018, so going on 4 years off and on. And let me go ahead and just start with the negatives, and then we'll talk about the positives. So first off, the game is in open alpha, and with that comes a lot of problems with bugs and things like falling through floors, planets, 30Ks, server disconnects, things like that. A lot of those things have gotten much better, and so have some of the recoveries for them. So if you now have a server disconnect and you're in your ship, you're going to respawn with your ship as it was when the server disconnected. You'll be back at a station, but if you had a load of cargo or something like that, you would still retain that. So there has been quite a few improvements to it. I played the other night for about 4 hours, didn't have any issues, but there'll be other days that I'll play where I will still run into some of these problems. And that's just the nature of a game that is in open alpha and is continuing to be developed, and new systems and things coming in. There's going to be problems, and that's the whole point, is for us to test and find those prior to the game launching. The next two things that I'm going to address are going to be more of kind of criticisms that have been around the game for years, and kind of my thoughts on those. So one is that it's a scam. There's been huge amounts of money raised, and the game's still not done. And for me, so I have two thoughts on that. One is, number one, I don't care. I got into the game not that long ago, relatively speaking. The game's been in development for almost a decade, and I knew what I was getting into. I checked it out. I bought a starter pack, which was pretty inexpensive, and I've definitely got my money's worth out of it. And I'm still having a lot of fun in it, especially with all the new things that are coming into the game. So for me, it's, number one, I don't care. If they were to release the game in the current state today, I would still play the game. The next thing that we hear a lot about is, again, it's a scam because it's taking so long. And I'm not a game developer or an industry expert in the field of this kind of thing. But my thoughts on that are, from what I've read, the game has raised a lot of money and it's been in development for a long time. And the reasons that I have found is that they're developing a game that is unlike any other. Even in its current state, there is nothing else that comes close to Star Citizen. And they're not willing to cut any corners or make deadlines, cause them to cut corners. It looks to me like they're trying to build, the next generation of game, our dream game, quote unquote. Now, whether that happens or doesn't happen, I don't know, right? I'm not a shill for these guys. I'm not being paid for this. This is just my thoughts on it. The other part of that is the length of time. So, I hear that a lot, that, it's taking too long. And most people are also not experts like myself. What is too long? All I know is that, when other titles or, companies, EA, makes a game like, Red Dead Redemption or Grand Theft Auto or something like that, you don't know about it until it's announced. And when it's announced, a lot of the times it's almost done. Obviously they have engines. It's an existing company, things like that. And so when I look at the development and the time involved that's passed in developing Star Citizen, I'm looking at something where there was no company, there was no game engine, there was no internal tools. It literally was all being made from scratch. And so for me, that explains a lot of what is taking so long. The other part is that they're inventing technologies for this game to achieve, the goals of the game, which, again, like I already said, are unlike anything else that you've ever played. There is nothing out that even comes close to even the current state of Star Citizen. And so there are certain technologies like server meshing, and there's a bunch of other technical terms. I don't know all of them and what they all entail, but they don't exist, or they didn't exist, and they do now within Robert Space Industries and Cloud Imperium. They've invented these, and there's others that are currently being worked on, technologies that need to be completed in order for the game to come to fruition in the state that they want it to be. And like I said, for me, I don't care. I'm enjoying the game the way that it is, and so I'm fine with that if it takes another 10 years. I don't want it to, and I hope it happens soon. I don't know how soon that's going to happen. It's not going to be next year. But the game's a lot of fun for me in the way that it currently is. And if they're able to make these breakthroughs with these new technologies, it'll change gaming and the way that games are made for the foreseeable future. So for me, when we look at how long it's taking, again, it's a matter of, of a perspective kind of thing, right? We're comparing it to other games that are, being developed by established companies that have, offices and staff and engines and all those kinds of things that they're starting with, and so they're able to develop games a little bit cheaper because those things are already somewhat in place, and they already have established companies, so they can do these things much faster. So again, these are kind of the negatives that you'll hear around, and I'm not discounting them. It's just, again, it's a matter of perspective. For me, I don't really care because I'm happy with the game. I'm happy with the $45 that I spent in order to get into it, and I'm still playing it 4 years later. The bottom line is that Star Citizen is a crowd-funded game, which means that the entire development from beginning to end is all in the public purview. We can see every bit of it, and with every other game that comes out from a large studio, you don't know about it until they announce it, and there's a short while and it's released. But that game has been worked on for a long time, so it's very easy to criticize because they made it easy to criticize, being that it's a crowd-funded game and we're involved and a part of and watching the development. It's very easy to kind of pick apart every little thing. But at the end of the day, I'm playing it. It's a game that works, and I'm having a ton of fun in it. Again, there's nothing else like it, and we'll go over all the fun stuff that I really enjoy doing it and some of the things that you might want to consider if you're thinking about getting into Star Citizen. So what is Star Citizen? Star Citizen in its current state is basically a large sandbox space sim MMO. There are multiple different servers that can hold up to 100 different players at a time. You can go from point A to point B anywhere in the system without any kind of loading screens. There are a total of 4 planets with 4 capital cities in this system, with many moons and even more outposts and stations that you can visit. If you fly up to a planet and you look down at it and you see a mountain peak, you can fly directly down to it, again with no loading screens, and land there, get out of your ship, and do whatever it is you want to do. You can get out of your ship in space, board somebody else's ship, transfer cargo. There's ground vehicles. There is a ton of assets for you to play with in terms of ships, ground vehicles, and different items that you can equip to yourself. I describe the game really is kind of a sandbox. It's very reminiscent for me of Grand Theft Auto, the way I played it, which I never played any of the missions. I just ran around the city messing around and, with friends doing the same thing and running from the police and doing whatever it may be. I have the most fun in this game with kind of making up my own things to do, and especially if you're with groups of friends, it's quite a bit of fun. There are mission loops that are in the game and more being added. So the things that you can currently do is going to be PvP, PvE on ground and in space for bounty, escort missions, things like that. You can do deliveries, so you're picking up items for different NPCs and delivering them to other locations. You earn credits by doing this. There's also cargo hauling, which can be a lot of fun, especially if you're grouped together, or even if you don't have friends. If you message out on the server, hey, I'm running cargo and need an escort, you may not want to advertise that, but you can message people directly as well and see if somebody escorts you, so that other players or NPCs don't potentially harass you. It gives a lot of fun because there's that real kind of loss involved when you're doing those kinds of things. I generally, when I run cargo, will try to avoid that, and it's very easy to avoid. If you don't want to engage in PvP, you do not have to. You can just leave. And it's pretty easy to do if you do not want to be forced into doing that. But that is somewhat of a central part of the game, depending on what loops you're playing in. Some of the other things that you can do is mining. You can do hand mining, so first person. You can also get mining ships and mining ground vehicles in order to mine different kinds of ores and materials and sell those for credits in game. Salvaging will be released in this next coming patch, so you'll be able to salvage derelict ships, or ships that have been destroyed, different things like that. I'm not super clear on all the different things you're going to be able to salvage, but we'll know here within the next couple of weeks, hopefully, what exactly that looks like and what kind of fun that we can have with it. Looting was also added a few patches back, so you can loot different locations, outposts, stations, other players, NPCs, and you can sell those items, or you can keep them and store them for yourself to use later on. So there are quite a few gameplay loops that you can do. These can get stale after you've put in quite a bit of time running these delivery missions or mining, or you've gotten enough credits in order to buy different ships and things like that. But I have seen a dramatic increase in new systems, gameplay loops, and things like that come into the game over the last year. There's a lot of systems that are coming online internally, tools internally, that are allowing them to implement things much, much faster. So we're starting to see much more of that, and I think we'll see that progressively increase going forward here through this next year and beyond. So those are some of the just kind of basic things that you could do just as a solo player. I like to, sometimes if I get a little bit bored of that and I don't have anybody to play with, I'll go get a bounty put on me. So I'll do a criminal act, and I'll spend the next hour or so, if I'm good enough, or the people that are chasing me or not, and you'll have different people on the server coming after you, and you try and elude them, fight them off, do different things like that. Clear your crime stat can be quite a bit of fun, and I enjoy doing that. I'm a hoarder, and that's why I like MMOs. I love space stuff, sci-fi, not obviously. Playing this and with some of the other content I make with Star Trek, you probably already know that about me. And so, I enjoy just, in some cases, just going and looting and building up, my inventory of stuff. So, extra armor, things like that. Because if you die with armor on, then you end up losing it unless you go back and recover it. So, building those kinds of things, those stockpiles up and things like that. I have a lot of fun doing it, and then I also have those resources available to me. The most fun that I've had in the game at different times is playing with groups of people, either people I know, or maybe I went in and watched a live stream and they were made up some kind of event, and those events would range from dogfighting, team dogfighting, low atmosphere with a altitude ceiling you can't go above. A lot of fun, really like that. That could also take place in space. You can put different rules to that. Now that we're seeing larger ships, multi-crewed ships with turrets and things like that, you can expand that out and have more fleet fights if you're able to put that together, and that tends to be a lot of fun. The FPS is pretty good when the servers are acting good, and you can have a lot of fun doing PvP with that as well. On the ground, I really enjoy finding some of the abandoned stations that don't have any gravity, and having a capture the flag kind of a game going with two teams of people with 0G gravity, and going in and trying to take them out and float through the station. It's just a totally different kind of aspect that you're not used to seeing or doing in games, especially in just one game. This game is literally like Grand Theft Auto with space. So it's not in space, it's with space, because there's ground and there's space, and there's atmospheric flight as well. So in some cases, we'll have different teams going out and collecting whatever kind of resources, meeting up at a particular point in space, and transferring goods between the ships. You can get out anywhere you want to. It doesn't matter. I wouldn't recommend doing it in atmosphere because you'll end up falling. But apart from that, it's safe to do that as long as you're taking the right precautions. Some of the other real fun things to do in the game are, again, in team group kind of things, where we would have somebody in a large ship or a team in a large ship, and another group of us would approach in another ship. We would exit the ship, breach the ship that the other team's in, and try and take over that ship from the other team that's trying to defend it. Those are just some of the group things that you can do and have a lot of fun with. The even with there only being one system with the 4 planets, if you're, thinking about starting and you're going to, check it out, you have a ton of content to play and explore and check out before, you even need to think about trying to find friends to play with. And like I said, there's more being added constantly. And so for me personally, I'll go in and I'll play and I'll take little breaks and I'll come back and forth when different patches come out. Sometimes a patch comes out that's not as great, and there's some performance issues. But again, that's becoming a less and less of a problem. There's just nothing else like this where you can pick a point, fly to it, get out, and go explore anywhere you want to. Anywhere that you can see, you can just fly to it. And land, exit your ship, and either do missions or just mess around. Another thing that we've been seeing quite a bit in the game that they're adding in is different race events, which are really cool. So they'll have different courses set up with more race-style ships, and they're timed. You can race through the different maps and have a lot of fun doing that. So as of right now, I would say that the gameplay loops are somewhat light. They're fun to do. They're fun to use to grind out resources, but eventually they start to get a little bit old. Like I said, they are adding more, so that helps kind of change things up. But this, at this point, is really a big sandbox for you to just go out, explore, have fun, and you can make up your own things to do around those loops or with friends. I play most of the time solo. And I generally am collecting resources, things like that, to buy ships in game and that kind of thing. So we should talk about that as well. Once you pick up a starter pack, and I'll have a video linked down in the description for the different starter ships and what to consider. But a base starter ship's going to run you $40, $45. That's going to be for the ship and for the game. And that allows you to log into Star Citizen. There's another one that also includes Squadron 42. I don't even have that yet because I don't know when it's coming out, so I just saved my money. And once you're in, you can earn credits in game, and you can buy basically any ship that is in the cash shop. You do not have to spend any real money. You can earn the credits, buy them in game, fly them in game, and don't have to spend any money. The only exception to it is if a brand new ship comes out that's normally not put in game for purchase, I think for that quarter or at least a couple months. There is some exclusivity if somebody decides they want to pay money. Some of these ships can be very, very expensive. One of the other nice features to the way that the cash shop is set up is that they have a trade-in and upgrade program. So I started off with $45 starter ship, and I decided I wanted to upgrade that to one that was slightly better. It was the Avenger Titan, and so I was able to do an upgrade, which basically I just paid the difference, $10, and I was able to upgrade the first starter ship I had, which was the Aurora, to the Avenger Titan. So I was able to basically use that starter ship for the credit that it was worth, that I paid to put towards another ship. Other things that you can do is you can actually, what they call, melt down your ships. Let's say that you've spent $100, $200 in the game buying a couple different ships. Let's just call it $200 for the example. A new, bigger ship comes out and you really want it, and it's $250. You could actually melt down your 2 ships, or however many ships you have that you spent $200 on, and get a 1-for-1 store credit. So now you'd have store credit of $200, and you could just spend an extra $50 and buy that extra ship, or that new bigger ship. It's one of the things I really like about it, because there's constantly new stuff coming in, and it's sometimes for Christmas I'll ask for a gift card for it or whatever it may be. I don't spend tons and tons of money on it, but it's nice being able to, if I want to try something out, I can just melt my ships and use all of that credit to buy something else that has just come out, or something else that I want to try. And the next day I can melt that ship down if I want to and buy those other ones back if I wanted to do that. So it's really nice that you can kind of move around the credits, if you will. If you buy something, you're not just stuck with it like other games. You'll buy something and you find out you don't like it, or something new and better comes out tomorrow, and you're like, dang it, I just spent all the money I wanted to spend on games on this one thing. Now this new thing's out in this game. You can trade it in for the 1-for-1 store credit and put it towards whatever that new thing is. So that's something that I really like about this game. It allows you to really kind of move your resources around, try out different things, in terms of real money that you've spent. You do not have to do that. You can just play the game, do the loops, do the missions, earn credit in game, and buy any of the ships that are in the cash shop in the game and own them. So I really enjoy that feature about it, how there's 2 different directions you can go, and they're both very reasonable in my opinion. Lastly, the game is beautiful. The landscapes, the cloud tech, the meticulous attention to detail on all of the different ships that you can get in, all the different locations. You can go up to any wall or sign or anything, and you can tell that there was a lot of time and effort and care put into designing and rendering all the different kinds of things that are in the game, from the ships to the stations to the landscapes. Everything that's in it just looks beautiful. We joke around, they better come out, with this game soon and finish it, because other games are catching up. Some of them are right on par, if not slightly better. But when you take into account just the scale of the game and how detailed everything is, it's really mind-blowing, and it's a lot of fun. So I highly recommend checking it out. If you're somebody that can't deal with some of the bugs, or you get upset at that kind of thing real easy, then wait. Wait for the game to come out, wait for it, I don't know, a couple years, hopefully. If it's not out by then, it would probably be even more stable. But that hasn't really been a huge issue for me. But there are some nights where, it has tested my patience. It's not every night, it's not even the majority of nights when I play, but there are some where that does happen. I want to make sure I'm upfront about that. But if that's something that you can handle, and you like space sims, and you want to be a space trucker, or you want to be a bounty hunter, or you want to be an explorer, or a data runner, or you want to be a criminal in space, or you want to be whatever it is, Star Citizen has that for you. Every time I would watch The Mandalorian and I'd get done with one of the episodes, especially in the first season, I'd get done and I would immediately say, I want to go play Star Citizen. Star Citizen's like The Mandalorian and The Expanse mixed together is what it just reminds me of, the universe that you're in. But it's a beautiful game. I have a lot of fun playing it. Again, if you're somebody that's patient and can deal with the occasional bug or server crash, for the $45, it's money well spent. And you'll be able to play and play and play and play and play for a long time, with continual updates and systems being added. And when the game is completed, you already own it and don't have to buy it then. I'm assuming it's going to probably cost more than $45 when it comes out. When that starts getting closer, you can also get packs that will include Squadron 42, which is the campaign version of the game. And I'd recommend probably picking up, trading in some of your ships or your current starter pack for that one. Because I think the current prices for the Persistent Universe, Star Citizen, and for Squadron 42 are going to go up once we get closer to launch here. But you probably have a little bit of time left, so before that comes around. That's my thoughts on it, guys. Take it or leave it. I'm not looking for much of a debate on it, because this is just my opinion. You might completely disagree with me, and I wouldn't argue with you about it, because it's all a matter of perspective. There's some people that, like I said in the beginning, oh, it's just a big ripoff and da-da-da-da-da. You know what? I understand. I understand if some people look at it that way, and that's, their opinion. I'm not here to try and change that. But if it is something that you were interested in checking out, there's my 2 cents, and I hope that was helpful. If you decide you want to go ahead and give Star Citizen a try, when you sign up for your account, signing up for an account is free. When you do that, make sure you use a referral code. This page will actually have a button there. It doesn't ask you for it. You got to click the button, put the referral code in. I have a referral code down in the description that will get you an extra 5,000 credits when you start playing the game. And up until January 10th, if you sign up prior to that and use a referral code, you also get a Argo MPUV vessel, and that is this one pictured here. Smaller utility vessel. It's kind of cool, and you get that for free as long as you spend $40, I think is what they listed, which your starter packs are going to start at $40. So you need a starter pack in order to actually play the game. So make sure you create your account first, use the referral code, and then pick yourself up the starter pack that you want, and you will go ahead and get yourself a free extra ship as well, up until you just have to do this before January 10th. All right, guys, I hope that was helpful. I appreciate you watching, and until next time, stay safe and have a good one.